Hello out to all you wonderful people. This is Andre, the Game Idea Guy. Thank you once again for lending me your time and your ear listening into another What If discussion. And this time I'm going to be talking about what if the Wii U became popular. Now, I know it would be better for clicks to probably say what if the Wii U was successful, but when I think about it in the long run, the Wii U actually was a successful platform because even though people may not want to admit it, it brought money into Nintendo. Maybe it's not as much as what they wanted, maybe not as much as what they originally projected it would do, but they still made a profit off of it. And in my eyes, that's still a success. Maybe not as big of a success as they would have liked, but it's still a success in the long run. So, with that explanation out of the way, let's go ahead and just kind of analyze how things could have gone for the industry had the Wii U become a popular platform and wasn't crapped all over by the gaming media and then in turn the gaming community. Now, and this is just me thinking about it, and I'm just everything I'm saying to you right now is what's coming to my mind, like as I'm thinking it. This is not something that was pre-planned, even though I had the idea to do this video before, but all of what I'm giving you is what's literally popping into my head at the moment. So just remember to take that with that little bit of grain of salt. Like there was no pre-thought for this. All right. So first things first, if the Wii U was popularized before, okay, instead of the situation where all the major gaming outlets were acting like they didn't know what the Wii U was, because they were definitely acting like there's no way in the world that I, as a person who isn't in the game media, who didn't get to physically experience these platforms before they released or any of that stuff, if I could figure out that the Wii U was a totally different platform than the Wii, well, not totally different, but it was a different platform than the Wii, then there is literally no reason that the games media could not have figured the same thing out. And the fact that they decided to go and roll with the idea that they didn't know what this machine was and that they were incapable of figuring out that it wasn't a Wii is freaking ridiculous. So here's the thing. They wouldn't have pretended that it wasn't a different platform. They wouldn't have acted like the gamepad worked for the Wii. Like, and I do remember actually seeing a couple articles that were like that back then. It may not have been a whole lot of them, but there were definitely a few among the group of people who didn't act like they knew what it was. Like, how do you expect a platform that does 480p to just jump up to freaking HD because there's a gamepad at it? That gamepad having very little processing capability to itself. Outside, like, yeah, no, it's stupid. So, if the Wii U became popularized and was doing well during its run on the market, instead of now where it's like $800 to get a brand new one on Amazon, if the Wii U did well on the market, I could see a few different things happening just off the top of my head. Firstly, Microsoft probably wouldn't have backed down from the Kinect because it wasn't a bad device for the Xbox One, but the problem was they were scared of losing customers. And I get why they'd be scared of losing customers, but at the same time, it's like you built this product and like you built your machine with this product in mind, but then you just kind of just dropped it, even though you claimed originally you couldn't. Because I think that was the case. I originally believed they claimed they couldn't drop it, but they found a way to get rid of it. Yeah, like, they probably wouldn't have dropped the Kinect, and that would have opened up more games that had full body motion control. Like, and I think that honestly, that would have been a cool concept to be able to keep going along with and something to explore. But since Microsoft got scared because they saw how the Wii U wasn't doing all that great, and people were claiming, oh, I don't like gimmicks and this, gimmick that, and all Kinect is a big gimmick. They dropped it. And on top of that, they also really dropped Smart Glass. Like, Smart Glass was an actual good idea. And it was also something that would have worked well for the Xbox One had they decided to keep up with it. Hell, it was like, I think they had even built-in functionality for that for Dead Rising 4 for the drops, like the thing you call it airstrikes or something like that. And that would have been cool. Like, that would have been something that could have been added to more games. Just like the Smart Glass presentation that was, I think it was 2013. I did a video about this. I think it was 2013. But there was a smart, no, it wasn't 2013. I think it was 2011. I know it was around the time the Wii U was revealed. It wasn't too long after that. I think it couldn't have been that long after that. But that would have been better for like sports games like Madden, especially if you wanted to play a coaching only mode. Like, having the Smart Glass functionality would have been awesome. But like that's the type of thing that would have worked very well for it. Or games that are like tower defense that would work awesome for. Or even strategy games. Like, there's a lot of games that type of functionality would have been awesome for. You could play RPGs with that type of stuff, or you could have your Smart Glass set up, like where you could have whatever tablet or phone you had it used on, where you could have it set up on the stand, and you could use that additional information for stuff in game. Kind of, I think also Halo 4 did something like that. And that type of functionality would have moved right over to the Wii U, which would have meant better for the games for the Wii U. And probably would have meant that more games ended up on the Wii U from third parties. Games that were quite clearly capable of being run on the machine because they put them on the Xbox 360 or the PS3, but they skipped the Wii U. And it's odd that Nintendo is the only company in the industry that has to have this popularity thing. Like, they have to be popular to a certain point in order to get certain games. It's ridiculous, but that's how it is. Sorry, people, didn't mean to yawn in your ear. If you're wearing headphones anyway, because I know how that causes people to also have yawning reactions. But back to my point. So if the Wii U got popular, like games that would have come out and supported the gamepad functionality would have been very much aplenty. We also probably would have seen stuff happen for the PS4 and the PS Vita where it would have had similar functionality. It probably wouldn't have been as good as that of the Wii U, because Wii U was built with the gamepad in mind, but it could have worked still. Like, it still could have worked very similarly to how Smart Glass would have worked and how the Wii U gamepad would have worked for the PS4. Where you could use either the Vita or the Sony Xperia phone for that second screen functionality. Like, those are options that would have been available. And that would have been cool. And we probably would have seen more games that had come out with asymmetrical gameplay on all platforms, not just on the Wii U, but on all platforms. And I could see this bleeding into some of the first party franchises of Microsoft and Sony. And that would have been awesome. Hell, the Move controllers would have been better utilized before PSVR. But like, actually, PSVR probably would be far more advanced now than it is had the Wii U taken off the way it did. That had the Wii U taken off the way it should have. I mean, not the way it did, because obviously the way it didn't do a whole lot for the industry, I guess. I mean, it did, because people did use ideas and other stuff, like I mentioned VR, but I digress. I don't know. Well, actually, I kind of do have an idea on that one. So games would have been more. There would have been more games using gamepad functionality. There would have actually been more games that use motion controls, and people wouldn't be. I mean, yeah, you always have people who are not going to want motion controls. But the Wii U had a ton of different control options, so it wouldn't have made a difference. It would have just had to been one of those things that was built into it. much like with PC, where you have mouse and keyboard and you have gamepad functionality. And if you're on the right, if you're on the right PC with the right game, touchscreen functionality. Like all those things are built into PC. And that stuff was being built into the Wii U. It's one of those things that irritates me. Because I see where the potential for it to go was. It's like, you guys screwed it up. You screwed it up for everybody. But just consider it, like looking at it, thinking that way. Like, again, there would have been more games that would have been on all three platforms. There would have been more games that would have been on the Wii U, the Xbox One, and the PS4. Outside of the kiddie-looking games that ended up on the Wii U and Xbox One and PS4 and somehow that had generally about the same amount of detail in them on all three platforms. like, people don't want to acknowledge that either, or acknowledge the fact that the Wii U was running resolutions for 2 screens, so obviously it had to have more capability than what people were giving it credit for. Man, it's just so many things that could have been better right now had this platform been treated the way it should have been treated. And we probably wouldn't, like, more likely there would not be a ton of ports from the Wii U to the Switch. There wouldn't be. Because there would have been more people that have bought the Wii U versions of those games. Yeah, there would be some. I do see Breath of the Wild being something that was ported over. I do see Mario Kart 8 being ported over. Also, possibly Pokken Tournament. I could see those all being ported over. And a few others. I'm talking about from Nintendo. Like, obviously, third parties and indies, they're going to do their own thing separately. What they do is not indicative of what Nintendo does. Then there's also the fact that the Wii U probably would have lasted maybe a year longer instead of being 6 months shorter. Instead of being cut 6 months shorter, it probably would have lasted 6 more months instead. Like, but that's the only other real change that I can notably give as far as how long it would have been on the market. I don't know how many units would have sold, because that's not exactly my wheelhouse anyway. So I couldn't give you that type of prediction or guess or anything. But I do think it would have sold at least as well as the GameCube. At the very least, if it was more popular, it probably would have done better. Probably would have done better because people would have looked at what they could do with it. And it would have ended up with more strategy RPG type games on it and stuff like that. There would have been like MMOs and stuff like that on there. I mean, if you really, really, truly want to see or get an idea of what could have happened as far as the Wii U's game lineup, for if it was more successful, you can look no further than the playlist on my channel, game ideas that would have worked for the Wii U. Like, I have 115 videos going over games that would have been good to put on the Wii U and why and how those games would have worked on the Wii U. And 115 videos does not mean that it's just 115 game ideas. There's actually quite a few more if if you count some of the videos where I'm talking about multiple games. So that's again, that's another thing to just consider after you check this out, if you want. Because actually some of those videos are my most popular videos on my channel. So just if you would like to check that out, that's on you. I'll give you. I'm just saying, if you want to, that's what you can look like. And I'm actually redoing a few of those anyway to fit the Switch. Not all of them, because some of them, the way they are, just already work out well enough for how the Switch operates. But moving on. since the Wii U was kind of like, it was like basically a Swiss Army knife in and of itself, kind of how the Switch is like. And the Switch is also like with the Joy Cons. This is kind of like a Swiss Army knife, but what the Wii U did again was asymmetric gameplay that is just not available on the Switch unless you have more than one. And yeah, that kind of sucks, but it's up to Nintendo to utilize it. So not much I can say. And I'm thinking, like, just rolling through thoughts here. Had the Wii U been appreciated by the games media the way it was supposed to, obviously there are going to be people who are going to talk crap about the platform. There are people who talk crap about every platform. That's unavoidable. There's no way to avoid that. But it likely wouldn't have been as bad on the YouTube side of things, where people allowed their affiliations to platforms to divide them up as people. That's something I see from the YouTube side of things because I lived that. So I'm looking at maybe had this been more popular, there wouldn't have been so many arguments and fights over things. But I just it's one of those things where I got to realize just how much we put emphasis on what we do as part of our personalities and in things that we enjoy, if they are treated or mistreated in our eyes. A lot of people kind of, get a little pissed. So that's the YouTube side of things. It's just I don't know why I felt like I had to put that in there, but thinking about it, it's just something that I realized probably wouldn't have gone the way it did. The only other thing, another thing I do think though, and people are probably going to be pissed that I'm saying this, but had the Wii U been more popular, we probably would have been charged online on the Wii U. And people are probably wondering why I would say that. When you think about it, had it become popular enough, that would have been more people on the Miiverse servers. That would have meant that they had to have more people monitoring it and keeping an eye on it, which would have meant more money sunk into Miiverse, which would have meant that they would eventually need to have people. They would eventually need to be paid for that. They couldn't just give it away as a free service like they did, and that's one of the reasons that they kind of got rid of it. That and not enough people voted to keep Miiverse going, to be fully honest. Just not enough people were able to take part in the survey. I think when I voted, I voted for them to keep Miiverse, but that also would have been something that would have transferred over to the Switch, Miiverse, and it probably would have been integrated into the OS like I had done on videos before when I talked about the Switch before Miiverse was announced to be getting canceled. Back when the Switch was called by its code name the NX. And that would have been awesome if they had done that. Cause it kind of was integrated into the OS. No, I can't say kind of. It was integrated into the OS with the Wii U, with the Wara Plaza. Blah. I don't know why I couldn't say that right. But I do think that they would have started charging sooner. But and I don't think the price range would have been any different. That's the thing. I don't think the price range would have been different. But I do think that they would have started charging for online play. And with the online functionality, online play and having the game service, Miiverse would have been tied into that. I still think they could do that. If they would really, truly do that, just charge people for Miiverse, people would pay for it. People would pay for it, especially for the Nintendo crowd, because it was a tighter knit group, a tighter knit community. I wouldn't mind throwing $5 a month down for Miiverse. Like, to be fully honest, I would not mind it because of how tightly knit it was and how you could go on and see people's different artwork and you could get advice for games that you know people are playing with you because they like the game because the console automatically verified that they're playing those games. It would have been cool. Like, and then a lot of the functionality with adding the videos to like Twitter and other platforms from the Switch, that would have been built into the Wii U. Like, it would have been built into the Wii U, and it would have been something that was built in that was happening on Miiverse, and it would have been awesome. Like, that's another thing, but like that's something I so miss, miss. I wish Nintendo hadn't killed was Miiverse, but eh. I also think that we would have had if it was popular enough, we would have actually been getting more games that were focused on Mii's as a character. And that's something like I got videos in mind for that, so don't worry about that right now. But I kind of and this goes with my Wii U game ideas playlist. But I had made a video about an RPG featuring Mii's, but I made it for the Wii U, but that ended up coming out on the 3DS. So it wasn't. It's definitely not 1-to-1 for my idea, but the concept is somewhat the same. So again, like if you want to check out that playlist, I really think you should go ahead. Like, it's a very long playlist, and you've got days worth of content to listen to. But let's just go ahead. That said. I could see a lot more good things happening for Nintendo had the Wii U become more popular. Like, had it not been just cast aside as the unwanted stepchild of the industry at the time. Like, but I do believe that also meant that Nintendo would have gone into the Switch with a little bit less fervor. They wouldn't have pushed as hard in the advertising the way that they did if the Wii U itself took off pretty decently. I'm not talking about doing the same numbers as PS4 or even the Xbox One. Like, but if it was like comparable to like what the GameCube was or even the N64 in that range, they probably would not have come out as strongly with the Switch as they did. And see, here's the thing. I think that, like, the thing is, like, I feel like that name for the Switch was already decided well before they even gave us the NX code name. So, I mean, I could be wrong. Like, but you know that Nintendo always starts working on their next platform when they release one. That's just how they are. That's how they've always been. So the Switch name, I believe that name would have that name would have stuck. Like, it would have stuck. It was like, so I do think that they would have gotten away from the Wii branding, just because they were moving on to a different platform that would mean, even though it still incorporates many of the same things, it's not exactly the same. That, and also the Switch would have been more like the Wii U than it is now. I think that there would have been like with the gamepad, there was a sensor bar built into it, and it also had the camera. I think that the Switch would have actually come with a camera built into it, and it would have had the sensor bar the exact same way that the Wii U gamepad was designed. And you would have been able to do more with games that allowed you to use your picture, or you would have been working more with Mii's. Like, you would have been able to do your Mii's the same way you could on the Wii U, with taking your picture and then editing it from there. So it's just me looking at things, like just overall thought process and all of this. Trying to think of anything else. Because, and again, I do think that they were already moving toward cartridges, so like it wouldn't have been a thing there. But I do believe that if the Wii U was more popular, then a lot more of again, a lot more of the functionalities that were in the Wii U would have been moved right along to the Switch, and it would be capable of a lot more than it currently is when you get one. Now, if you have two Switches and Nintendo ever decides to do this, or you have a Switch and they work on an app of some sort, and I have videos, I have a video plan for that. So again, you'll just have to wait for it to come out. Like there's a lot more that could be done with the Switch than what they are currently giving people. There's a lot more functionality that can be drawn out of it than what they currently have it doing. But it's just, again, me looking at the situation and just thinking about it. I think that the Switch probably wouldn't be as popular as it is now had the Wii U been more popular. I mean, I do believe it still would have been a popular device because of what it does and how it does it. But again, Nintendo wouldn't have been out they wouldn't have come out as aggressive with it, and there would have been far more stuff. There would have been far more games that are original to the Switch than there are ports of Wii U things. But I'm done with that. So thank you guys very much for listening. Keep your eyes and ears up for more stuff from me. And until the next time, enjoy your games. Peace out and look for the next What If next week.